my original copy of the Zapruder film, blown up 35.
It's amazing.
The film is the most important single piece of evidence that we have in the case. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right equipment and the interest in the case to be able to do it. The reason why we even have the film at all is because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought us the original film in a attaché case, handcuffed to the guard's wrist.
Okay, so I have 3 questions for you from viewers about the Zapruder film. The first one is it possible that the Zapruder film was sanitized before it got to you? Hello and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, then welcome. I'm Jess Cannell and I would love to earn your subscription with this video. In this video, I'm talking with Robert Groden. He is the researcher who brought the Zapruder film to America in 1975. He went on the Geraldo show with Dick Gregory and released the film. In this conversation, we are talking about questions surrounding the Zapruder film. Could it have been faked? How can we know it's authentic and hasn't been altered? What's the deal with the splices? And also, is there any way that we can verify if it had been altered? So these are some of the questions we're talking about. And what I want to let you know about our conversation is we are having these conversations back and forth often. And so there are things that we talk about in the beginning and then things that I follow up about at the end of our conversations. So if there are questions that you have, you may find that we circle back around to them by the end of the conversation. But I just hope you enjoy this conversation. I hope it adds to your knowledge about the Zapruder film. One of the things that I love about Robert is because he has spent decades explaining the entire case, not just the Zapruder film, but the case to average lay people like you and I. He's conversant and able to bring complex topics down to the level that I need and perhaps you need in order to understand things like the emulsification of film and topics like that, like the speed at which frames have to be played in order for it to look like a video. He's able to explain things like that in very layman conversational terms, and I really appreciate that. Also, I want to let you know we are actually, the Grodens and myself are going to be at the conferences in November. By the conferences, I mean there is the JFK Historical Group that is putting on a conference in Dallas in November. Both conferences are happening around the time of the anniversary of the assassination. The Grodens will be presenting at both conferences, and I will be present at both conferences. I also have been invited to share at the JFK Historical Group. So that information is right here. And then also I want to let you know about Lancer. If you want to attend Lancer, I do have a discount code for that one. It is JFK10. And so you can use that code to get 10% off of any package you desire, whether it's an online package or an in-person conference for the JFK Lancer conference. So I hope to see you, meet you at either of those. That's going to be a really fun time of learning for me, and I hope for you too. And with that, here is the conversation with Robert Groden.
This explains the splices.
Okay.
Life magazine had the film duplicated in Chicago, made a black and white negative before the film was even slit.
So it was duplicated into a black and white negative.
Yeah.
But it was still the double rank. Okay.
Okay. Then they sent it to New York. And in New York, on, I think, the 30th floor of the Time Life building,
okay,
they had a guy work on it, and he was making 4x5 transparencies of the film. And as he was doing it, he put the film in a film gate and closed the gate, and the gate landed on the film and cut it.
So that's a splice.
That's where the splices came from. But
Okay.
the first splice, this one, I was the one who discovered this one.
Mm-hmm.
I had the film
That's
in my hand.
Z157.
I had the film in my hand, and this is 35 millimeter, but that was 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running it down like this on a rewind, like.
The one behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And as I feel the splice going through my hands where it's not supposed to be.
Mm.
And I studied it, and I found this splice here, which occurs.
150.
That's the incoming, that's the outgoing. It overlaps. What they did is cement splices, film cement. And that was the first one. And that one is at frame 154 to 157
Okay.
have been damaged or lost that weren't there. But this was on the original film. What you're seeing here is from a first generation copy from the Secret Service, which nobody had gotten their hands on. When I worked for the House Assassinations Committee, they got me the 8 millimeter copy, and I made these frames down here from the missing. These are the missing frames.
Oh, so this is from the Secret Service copy that they were given the day that it all began.
Right.
Oh.
And the thing is, no one had ever gotten their hands on before. Secret Service had the original film, but nobody could see it. When I got it, it was a chance in a million.
Yeah.
And I made copies of all those frames that were missing. That was the first splice.
And you did that for the HSCA?
Yes, the House
Okay.
Assassinations Committee.
Okay.
And then the second splice is where we knew it would be because of Tim Thompson and his book 6 Seconds in Dallas.
Isn't that the one where the tree is cut in half?
Yeah, the tree here starts up here and then it's down there because the car is moving and Zapruder's panning, and that's how we. This one here is the cement itself leaking, and here is the splice itself. This is it from frames 207 to 212,
And so
down here are the missing frames down here.
So you actually saw with your own eyes and felt with your own hands the Secret Service copy
Right,
during the HSCA.
right. I
And
had
this
it in
is-
my house.
Okay. And this is the exact pictures or the exact prints of what it contained.
All the missing frames.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
there's
okay.
a total of 10 of them. And this is, it's important. This is the only alteration to the film, and it wasn't done on purpose. I mean, they paid $250,000 for this film. They're not going to just cut out frames.
So it was an accident by the original person who processed it?
No, by the person who was making the 4x5 blow-ups.
By the 4x5 transparencies.
Yes. Hmm.
Do you know that man's name?
No,
We don't know.
they wouldn't tell me his name. I asked.
Okay. It was just what would have been his job title? He was
Film editor.
a film editor who would have worked for Life?
Yeah, for
Okay.
Time Life.
Okay.
Anyway, the two splices are there, but they have nothing to do with the actual shooting itself.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these occurred before there were any shots fired, by a while.
Both splices are before there was any shooting?
Right. That's why we're so angry at the fact that they're claiming that splices were done to hide something. What? There weren't shots at those points. It makes no sense to it. But anyway, that's the story with the splice, folks.
Okay.
The splices are there. They're there because, as Life said, they were done by accident. The 3 duplicate copies that were done in Dallas are intact. And I'm assuming although I've seen it, I wasn't looking for it at the time because it wasn't an issue. That the copy that Life made in Chicago is intact too, because it was before the film was actually cut.
Okay.
So anyway,
And you've seen that one, but you haven't done work on it. Is that right? The one in Chicago?
the one that was made in Chicago I did see. That's how I discovered that you never know what's going to become important. I found up at Life's offices the double rank black and white negative that they had made in Chicago, and they told me about it. That's how we even know about all this. They never advertised it. To this day, we wouldn't know, except that I actually physically held the film in my hands, and I knew.
Did not have.
And that's that book. It's a fabulous book. You can't get this one from him because there's not enough copies. But that one, there's copies of. I was going to show if it's okay. Can I just pick this thing
Yeah,
up?
it's lighter than it looks.
Okay. This is the machine that they are using to run film through
Yeah,
and make. I'm going to back up so
it's
that you can
actually
see.
this way. The film goes on. It's like that. And with these rewind situations here, you can run film down and examine it. Usually there'd be a light box or some light source down here at the bottom, and you can look through it. You stop at what you want, take out a magnifying glass or an optical loop, and examine the film.
You have a loop
And
next to
if
it.
you needed to splice a film, whatever, you would use this. You'd run it down to a specific point, and it would take up on that side, and then you would do what you needed to do with cement, a splicing machine, and that's how you work on film. By the way, this is film, not videotape. Nowadays, nobody knows about film. Nobody deals with film. That's why it's so easy to attack film, because they just don't know. This is 35 millimeter film. 8 and 16 are just thinner. They're not as wide. They're not 35 millimeters wide. And in the world of film, some rare projection systems use 70 millimeter film, which is twice as large as this. And the individual frames are sit out one after the other that way. Film cameras that take this shoot one frame at a time. For film frames in the standard that is shown and has been for since silent films is 24 frames per second for sound when the sound came in, or 16 or 18 frames per second for silent, because that's all you need to do to fool the eyes into just seeing it looks like a solid area of movement. But I've worked in the film industry for decades, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right equipment and the interest in the case to be able to do it. The reason why we even have the film at all is because of that. This is a jeweler's loupe, which you use for inspecting individual frames.
Oh, yeah. So jewelers use this to inspect
Diamonds.
diamonds, yeah, to see more clearly.
And that's what the little sucker looks like.
That's what they were using to go over parts of the film.
Okay. And this helps you see more clearly what's going on in the film.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's the mechanics of what we're doing. And if people don't know film, don't deal with it on a daily basis, or just hear about it, they don't really understand what film is really all about. There's a magic to film. It's a terrific interesting format. Things like CinemaScope. It's a process that people just wouldn't understand. CinemaScope takes each frame of the film as it's running through on reels like this, and they put it on 3 different black and white rolls through filters. And what you end up with is 3 black and white rolls of film, one for yellow, one for cyan, and one for magenta. And they play back through red, green, and blue filters. And then you take each of those and you rephotograph each of those individual frames with the filters onto a piece of color raw stock or unexposed film. And when they come together, if they haven't shrunk at a different rate, you end up with a very pure color, better than any other that's ever been developed. But nobody uses it anymore. It just doesn't exist, except in other countries, not here. Anyway,
Wow.
when you learn about that, it just fascinates you that somebody came up with this idea. And if you watch, say for instance, Gone with the Wind, and it's a really good print of it, they use that system. The problem is that sometimes the 3 reels will shrink because of age at different rates. And then if you have to make adjustments if you can, where they'll all come together exactly the same registration.
It's complicated.
It is complicated,
Wow.
but it's fascinating. It really is. For the film Woodstock, about the Woodstock Music Festival, everybody was shooting regular 8mm film. That's it, regular 8. And the size of an 8mm frame is about like that. Tiny. Anyway, to use it in a 35mm format for projection in a movie theater, we had to use 35mm. So what they would do is they would actually take and photograph the 8mm onto 35mm or in sections of 35mm, and then add additional stuff around it, and then project it back. And the quality that we did at my company, the company that I worked for, which was called Effects Unlimited, they're out of business now, so I've been told. Anyway, Life magazine saw what we had done, and they wanted to know, could we work on the Zapruder film? And we said, sure, let's give it a try. So they brought us the original film in a attaché case, handcuffed to their guard's wrist. And we very, very carefully and under supervision did the work on the film. We took the original 8mm film, put it on an optical printer. An optical printer starts with a light source, through a projector, through a second projector with a condensing lens, and then into a camera. And you're photographing the film as it goes through, 1 frame at a time. You know, click, 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 usually at 24 frames per second. We couldn't do it quite that fast because the degree of blow-up we were doing from 8mm to 35mm was so great that we had to take the extension bellows off and shoot in the dark, turn the lights out in the room, and shoot the whole thing 1 frame at a time, but an extremely long exposure per frame to allow enough time for the light to get through. Anyway, the results were fantastic. If you've ever seen a clear copy of the Zapruder film on the internet or in the movie JFK, it's because we did it this way with that kind of professionalism. And Moses Weitzman, the genius in the field, and my teacher, as it were, did all this job and worked on the technical work setups to do this. That's why we have the history of the Kennedy case in film form.
Okay, so I have 3 questions for you from
Okay.
viewers about the Zapruder film. The first one is it possible that the Zapruder film was sanitized before it got to you?
No.
Okay, tell us why.
Okay. Because it was an original film that was dealt with the same day, and all 3 copies, duplicate copies, were made the same day, and the black and white duplicate negative was shot in Chicago the next day, or the couple of days later. In all that time, they didn't have the time to mess with it. They didn't even know what to look for. No, nobody knew what was on it. Nobody knew what it would have showed. Nobody had figured the number of shots yet. None of that stuff had happened. And they would have to know all of that. And then they'd have to get their hands on the Nix film and the Muchmore film and the Bronson film, all of which showed the same areas and the same thing from different angles, and make each one of them match all the others. There was no time to do it. They didn't even know about the Nix film. They bought that before it had even been developed. So, anyway.
So when does Dino Brugioni say he got it? When is he saying in the process that he did some work on it or something?
He worked for NPIC, National Photographic Interpretation Center. And that was that the same night? Of
Friday, I believe, Friday night.
Friday, that night, same night. They brought him a film, and they told him it was the original. He had no way of knowing.
But it had already been copied, and there were 3 at that point?
There were 3 copies. We believe, I believe, that he was sent one of the duplicates and told it was the original. They would be crazy to take a film that Life magazine had just paid $250,000 for. They said it was $150,000, and it was $150,000 plus a percentage of money made on the film for magazine use for individual frames and like that, and Parry Match and Life magazine, all those things. They would get a percentage. So it worked out to about $250,000. And if you were Life magazine and you had this film you paid $250,000 for, would you let people cut out arbitrarily sections? No. No. The film itself, if you understand film, and if you work with film and you understand the limitations and the capabilities, you understand that what these idiots are saying about the film being faked, altered. No, it's impossible. It's impossible. I mentioned before, I'll say it again. One of the things they always point out is Zapruder film, he gets the opening motorcycles, and then all of a sudden the president's car's there. There's been obviously a splice there. No, there isn't.
And that one's not
What
a
happens,
splice.
Zapruder, so you got the camera? This is a camera just like Abraham Zapruder's, okay? The way it works, the action of it is not battery controlled. To get this to work, you have to wind it up, like so. And it takes a while to do that. We don't know when Zapruder started filming whether or not it had a full wind or not. It takes a while to do that, and it fights you because the spring tension. When you're shooting with it, sounds like that. If it stops filming, it stops making noise. That probably happened. After Zapruder is filming the opening motorcycles, he doesn't know where in the motorcade the president's car is. So if it stopped, he'd panic. You'd have to take the camera down, open it up, and start to wind it. By the time he finishes winding it, puts it back up to his eye, the president's car is already turned on to Elm Street. This is what happened. If he hadn't done that, he would have missed the entire assassination completely. Okay? That's what happened. But people are saying the film are fake. They say one of the main reasons we know it's been faked is because it doesn't show that. Zapruder didn't film that. That's the important point.
There's a question that some people have about the sign. The time when the sign is blocking the president. And they say that the sign is too large and that that's evidence that it's been faked.
What are they comparing it to? The camera, the sign that's there now, or that particular sign that day?
They're comparing, I think somebody sent me a question about that as well. I believe what they're comparing is one picture to another and how one looks much bigger than the other. And I think I just saw it when you showed it in the book. That's where the cement splice is, I'm betting. It looks different there, and that's probably why.
Well, they could be looking at different cameras, different way it's set up, the degree of magnification, whatever. There are many reports that we have that the sign was removed by the officials before the day was over. And the pictures that they took toward the end of the day and the following days are not the same sign. It's entirely possible. We don't know
that it could be a different sign. And then the last question that people have is, was Time Life a CIA front company?
Define front company. Did they work with the CIA? Yes, they did. The upper echelon at Life magazine were cooperating for several reasons. We know this. When the Bay of Pigs happened, Life magazine was given the information ahead of time. They had photographers there to do so. A lot of the stuff that you see now comes from that. That whole thing I was talking about before about the picnic, the training, that Life had this film, which was made by the CIA. Nobody else had it.
In their vaults.
Yeah.
So then, the question that this person asks is, if it was working with the CIA, why should we believe the copy? If they had it, they work with the CIA, if the government was behind the assassination in some way, how can we still trust the copy?
Okay, if a copy is made, this is again a technical thing. An original film taken of friends, relatives, vacations, whatever, it's called B-wind. B-wind is it reads through the base. Reading through the base is that what is left, what is right. If you see written information, it reads left to right, normally. If a duplicate copy is made to mess with or whatever, it becomes A-wind, which is, it reads through the emulsion, not the base. The Zapruder film reads through the base, which would only happen on an original. The duplicates would be A-wind. Also, there's original stuff that Craig Bozarth is doing, where he is shown technically how you can tell the difference between the two.
Okay.
One of the things is that original films say Kodachrome 2 in the margin between the sprocket holes, which the Zapruder original does.
Okay.
Duplicates would show different information that's put there instead. It is difficult, especially with the quality of the image that we have, to use Kodachrome 2 as a duplicating film. it becomes too contrasting. Now, the Zapruder film is slightly larger. Each individual frame is slightly larger than the head of a pin. To get this quality copy from a duplicate would be impossible. Great. This is compared to the size of a dime. You can see how small it is.
Yes, that's an 8.
Yeah,
My
it's 8 millimeters.
goodness.
That's how small it is. This actually is a Super 8, which is slightly larger than 8 millimeter, but the
Concept is the same, basically.
Yeah, I didn't realize that this is Super 8. This is slightly larger than the Zapruder film frames.
Wow. That's
Anyway,
remarkable. That's
it really
amazing.
is. It is remarkable. But again, it's the sort of thing that when you work with film, when you deal with people who are proponents of the alteration of the Zapruder film, they don't know. They just simply don't know. They don't deal with it. Because they're talking about retouching 1/40th in size of one of those frames, which is smaller than the head of a pin.
Yeah.
And you just can't do it. Let me pose a question that nobody's asked, that they should. If they had the capability of doing this, why didn't they just paint in the hair on the back of the head? Why would they black out and make a major obvious detection situation? Another thing that is extremely, extremely important, frame 335 and frame 337 of the Zapruder film actually do show the reality of the actual damage to the president's head. This is frame 335 of the Zapruder film. When you see how round the president's head is,
Yes.
and how sharp the edge is to
Yes.
the back of his head.
Yes.
At 335, this one here, you see that avulsed?
Yes.
It's like a volcano in the
Yes.
back of his head. That's the exit wound. That's the real hole in the back of his head. Not that little thing that they're talking about back there. 337, 335, and 337 here both show. Those are the
Yes.
only two clear in-focus frames of the film. When Zapruder is panning, as he's following the car this way, the car is moving this way. When he's doing it at exactly the right speed, the picture in that frame is clear.
It's clear.
If he's doing it in a different frame, too fast or too slow, it's slightly out of sharpness.
And it's moving slightly away from him the further we get in the film.
This is true, yeah. At the time of the headshot, the president is right in front of him.
Yeah.
And the size changes, the focus changes, the speed of the pan changes. Because of that, the individual frames are not quite as clear. At 335 and 337, they are remarkably clear. The pan rate is exactly right. 335 I published for the very first time. The Zapruder frames that were published in the 26 volumes of the Warren Commission report and evidence and testimony, they start showing the frames after the first splice, and they stop just before 335. They stop at 334. They never show the evidence of the back of the president's head. It does exist, and it's not quite the same as it appears in what they're claiming from frame 317. The film is the most important single piece of evidence that we have in the case. No matter what your argument is, for or against, whether it's a single assassin or multiple assassins, the film is always relied on because it is legit. It is the whole thing. People who claim the film is fake only use it to make their point and not our point. So anyway, there's a lot of other reasons why the film it could not have been faked. The big thing is that there was no time and no knowledge of what they would have to do. The fact that the original film and the 3 duplicates show exactly the same thing, which would not happen if the original film, for instance, was somehow or other faked elsewhere. They'd have to go back and fake the other 3 duplicates too, and they'd have to fake the Nix film, the Mudford film, and the Bronson film as well.
And so the film and the 3 copies when were the 3 copies made? Friday?
They were made Friday afternoon at Jameson Lab in Dallas. Making duplicate films is one thing. Processing them, you have to take the films that were made, take them back to Kodak. So you got to travel from Kodak to Jameson back to Kodak, and you've got to develop it, you've got to dry them, you've got to split the duplicates and put them on reels, which are like that. These are Super 8, as I said.
Yeah.
But that's the size of the reel.
So let me see if I'm saying this right. Time Life made an exact copy of the double rank.
Double rank black and white copy was made in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Yeah, which is important. The only reason why I knew this is because the guy who was in charge of all of this told me himself.
Okay.
Up at the offices of Life magazine.
Was the Secret Service copies, were they double rank?
They were before they were split. But when they were shot, processed, and dried, they were cut in half. Film in the camera is double rank. You shoot one side. It's the film itself is 16 millimeters wide. First, you shoot one side.
That's right.
You take the film out, you turn it over, and then you shoot the other side. Okay? Still 16 millimeters wide. But to show it on an 8 millimeter projector, which we know from Dino Brugioni, he had to go out and buy an 8 millimeter projector to show it.
So then
could not do. This is too wide; it won't fit in it. The fact that he showed he was not showing the original.
he had one that was already cut.
Already cut. And the original film was slit in Chicago, they told me.
Brugioni speaks about seeing several frames where the debris is going up from the head wound. Mm-hmm. He says it's going up higher in the air.
On my copies of the film, you can see the head explosion for 8 frames. It's not clear and obvious except on frame 313, but it's still in the air. It's still, pieces of skull in the air.
But then when they brought back the copy, who knows what the copy was, he said that the debris did not fly as high in the air. He said it went at least 3 feet over his head, which it does at yours, and that was the only frame. But in the original that he saw, he said there were more frames. Well, that's because it was a first-gen copy. That's why he saw it. That's why yours shows it.
So
Basically,
anyway,
what he saw is what you have.
The fact that we know that the film was not slit in Dallas, as they're claiming on the other side of the argument now, is because the duplicate was made in Chicago. I know it exists because I held it in my hand. If in fact the film had been slit in Dallas, they couldn't have done that.
Any other arguments for if Time Life was a CIA company, then how can we know that we can trust your copy?
Okay, I will say this. To fake the film, they would have to know what they were faking it for. They would not have known in advance because they would not have even have seen it. They would have to know what they would have to cut out, which would take time to do. It's not as easy as it sounds. Oh, you just take the film and you fake it. No. You'd have to know what to do. You'd have to do it in an undetectable way and not take a chance of screwing up the original at the same time. You'd also have to know and get your hands on the other three films, Nix, Muchmore, and Bronson, and more for all we know. And you have to alter them the same way for content and retouching and what have you. The other argument that it's easy to make is, why even bother? Why take so much time to do this and then hide the film and keep it from public view for 12 years? No, I would have seen the film if I hadn't released it. It makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
The logic is just either don't show it, which they didn't do, or get rid of it. Make it disappear. They damaged individual frames, probably by accident, but not necessarily. And I'll explain that in a minute. It would be just as easy to have the film disappear. Oh, it got ruined, it got destroyed. We lost it.
The chemicals, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing is, the two splices in the film, I always suggested could not have been faked by accident because of where they lie. The first splice, as I've said, I put way too much stuff into here.
You made it difficult for yourself.
For those of you who have the book, you can check this out for yourself. But just before the first splice, the president is looking inboard to the plaza like this. The shot happens at the time of the splice, and right after that, the president is now looking toward the grassy knoll, where the first shot was fired from. So to turn from here to here in about maybe a quarter of a second, he responded to something. Up to here, he's waving to the crowd. At this point here, he has stopped waving and his arm has dropped a bit. But then he starts to wave again. So he clearly was not hit by that first shot.
Okay.
That's the time of the first splice. At the time of the second splice...
So there was a shot, so maybe that's the one that hit the road?
That is exactly the one that hit the road.
Okay.
That's where the
film shows.
Right.
Yes.
The second splice, 207 to 212, right in the middle at 210 is where the Warren Commission claimed that the first shot could have hit the president because the tree growing on Elm Street is in the way.
Right.
At that point. That's where the second splice is. You can see that nothing happens. The president's not thrown forward, he's not thrown backwards, nothing. There's no change at all. It's hard to see because he's going behind the sign there, but you can measure the differences. That's where the two splices are, the only two splices in the film. So my question is it a coincidence that that's where they happened? I don't know. For years I thought, and I still to some degree think that the splices were not an accident. But they did not occur when the shots were fired.
Well, and it's interesting because if you really wanted to alter it in a way that would damage the whole thing, wouldn't you do it at the time of the headshot?
Yeah.
That would be the place to put the ultimate splice.
Excellent point. That's where you would do it.
Yeah.
You would hide the fact the person's thrown to the rear. Mm-hmm. When the fatal shot hits him in the right temporal area, it throws him to the left and to the rear, like so. Mm-hmm. That is a major argument for the fact that the shot came from the front, which is what they're trying to hide. Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, is the quality. The quality of the Zapruder film is so great. Making a duplicate that is that clear and that color correct would be extremely difficult. None of the 3 duplicates that were made in Dallas are that good, that clear, that color perfect.
So the original duplicate was given to Time Life. Is that right?
One of the 3 duplicates and the original
And the original.
were given to Time Life. The other 2 were given to the Secret Service.
Okay. And then Zapruder was given back his copy or no?
No.
But he's
He
later.
had it that night, but then he turned everything that he had over. to Dick Stolley got the original and the duplicate and signed contracts or whatever. With he was their man in Dallas, Life in Dallas.
Okay.
Anyway,
So that was that night. And so the original copy that they had was a better copy than the ones that went to the Secret Service because it was the same?
it was about the same.
Okay.
But they had nothing to compare it to. Grugioni, for instance, had nothing to compare it to. He was told it was the original. The issue didn't even exist of it being a fake. So he just naturally assumed that they had sent him the original.
Okay.
Also, one other point.
Yeah.
The original Zapruder film has information between the sprocket holes that are on the film to allow it to be projected in advance.
These.
Yeah. There is information from Dilly Plaza between the sprocket holes on the original, but because of the mechanics of optical printing, they use shuttles to advance the film, that blocks out the information between the sprocket holes. None of the duplicates have that information in the sprocket holes. The original does.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I actually love not just getting to have the conversation initially, but I love that I get to go back and edit it because everything I learn in the conversations with them just gets further cemented as I'm re-listening back through the conversation while I'm editing. So this was fun for me from start to finish. I hope you feel the same. I hope you come back next time. We're going to be getting back into our JFK Circling the Truth episodes. I've actually been sick and then also have been traveling. So I'm going to be back into recording mode soon, and we're going to be getting back into the case. We actually have some really wonderful materials to go through. One was shared by a generous viewer, and so we're going to get access to documents, newspaper documents that I otherwise wouldn't have. So I'm excited to share those with you. I hope you'll come back for that and join us for the JFK Circling the Truth series, where we are going through primary source documents and research materials together to understand better the details of the case and get our teeth around the facts across many different kinds of literature about the case. So come back for that. I hope to see you in those episodes and in those comment sections, and let me know what you thought about this interview. Also, if you have more questions, I do have a notes file where I have all different kinds of questions for Robert. So if you ever have questions for Robert, we are going to have a Q&A coming up probably in November or December, where we're going to get lots of answers to questions that viewers have asked. So I hope you have a great day. Let's interact in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the interview and if he answered some of your questions about the Zapruder film. I hope you have a great day. Bye.